من إنكار تام لوجود الله إلى التيه في عالم اليوجا والروحانيات المزيفة، ثم السقوط على الركبتين في لحظة يأس قاتل. قصة ميليسا ليست مجرد رحلة اهتداء عادية، بل صراع شرس مع الصدمات والخيانة ومحاولة إنهاء الحياة، حتى قادتها سجدة عفوية انفجرت فيها بالبكاء دون أن تدري ما السجود، لتبدأ من تلك اللحظة حكاية تحول غيرت حياتها إلى الأبد.
Melissa, will you share your full revert story with us?
Happily. So I grew up with no religion. I mean, I went to church as a child on the odd Sunday as a fun thing to do with a religious grandparent. But I didn't believe. I didn't believe in God. And then when I was, let's say, 22, I experienced like a life shake-up, big turning point, carpet pulled from beneath my feet moment. And from that, I very much was burdened with shame, guilt, shock, in denial, and I ran to Spain. I lost my career, which was PE teaching at the time. I was very early into my career, and it was all that I saw for my life. I know it was very young, but like my whole focus had been on that trajectory. Then boom, that was gone. And when I was in Spain, I found mindfulness and yoga, and that's what took me on a spiritual path. So then through spirituality, I was able to see like a more positive way of life, different perspective to what I'd been fed or surrounded by growing up. And then that took me into yoga teaching as a career. I've always wanted to be a teacher, and I love sharing what I'm learning. So I found this as a better way of living, a healthier way of living, more peace of mind. And then alongside this, there was many books I was reading with mindfulness, your Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now, going more and more and more into spirituality. So then the further I went into yoga and teaching yoga, I very much realised, and I was seeking unknowingly, I was definitely seeking, and it was only in hindsight that I learnt this, but I was always seeking for something more. What that was, I don't know. But through meditation, I found, and yoga, I was like, okay, we're not just body. The yoga journey started for a love for the physical movement, a different way of moving, and then the mindfulness, but then it became more of that in love with the spirituality of it. We're not just body, we're not just mind. And there was moments in meditation where I experienced, okay, there's way more than this. There's a higher something. There's a source. There's a creator. There's, what would I call it? All the universe sometimes, you know, but it was never pointing to God. So I think this went on for maybe, let's say 10 years, seeking. Name it in the holistic world and spirituality, I have done it, like yoga, meditation, breath works, Reiki healing, chakra cleansing. Then that took me into plant medicines. And the plant medicines came after another turning point in my life. In 2024, I experienced another boom, shake up. And in that moment, it was when my ex-partner at the time left me and betrayed me a month before the wedding. So that again was everything that I thought of my life and I could see of my life going forward, gone. And it was at that moment that I found God. So physically and on the outside, I should have technically been heartbroken. And of course I was. Of course, my heart was shattered and there was so much pain. But I kept saying in this moment, my heart has been shattered open. Like a vase, you know, like a vase being smashed on the floor, broken to pieces, but suddenly wide open. Or a house with no windows. I felt like I'd been living in hindsight, half dead from this moment on. I experienced a whole new level of life and of love, strangely enough, even though the love in a human sense and a partner was gone. I kept comparing myself to it was like I was in a house with no windows, and then suddenly the earthquake happened. There was a big crack down the house, and suddenly the light come pouring in. So through this hard time in July 2024, I experienced a whole new level of love, strangely enough, you know. It was just very contradicting. And after that, there was a couple more shaking moments. My dog was run over in the same week. I almost lost him. And then I moved into a new home and I came across another test in another character that just triggered me. And it was the least problematic one out of all three. But it was at that moment that it was like the straw that broke the camel's back. Woof, I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take it anymore. It was like trial, boom, boom, boom. Getting beaten when you're down. And it was at that last moment that I fell to my knees, and albeit having like friends around me, good family, thank God, alhamdulillah, 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 supportive network, therapists, and all the tools that I'd learned through yoga and spirituality, still wasn't enough. I kept saying like, I've got everyone around me, I've got the support, but nobody can take this pain from my heart. Nobody can erase this. So at this moment, God forbid, and sorry to say, but it was really like, okay, I'm going to take my own life. I'm going to end this. Like, I can't see the way out. And I fell to my knees in this pain and not knowing who God was, not believing in a God, but like falling to my knees in sujood, not knowing what sujood was. Like, dear God, please God, please God, please God, please God, please God, please God, crying, just so weak. Please God, please God, please God. Lifted my head, and the answer to that prayer happened in front of my eyes. Like the last hardship that I'd experienced in the series was I just moved into a new home. The housemate was really triggering me. We had disagreements. I'm not someone that falls out with people, but it was just the last test, it was just, and I saw him move and all his belongings out of the house. I'm like, oh my God, there's a God. I just stopped. I was like, oh, I think I even said, oh, there's a God. So then from that moment on, my friendship circle and my relationships, a lot more Muslims started to come into my life. I was living, and I still am living in Dubai, just traveling at the moment. And I felt very disconnected. Before that, I felt very disconnected to the Islamic, Arabic culture, and Islam as a religion. I was probably judgmental, actually, astaghfirullah, towards it. Had no interest in it. It was very pro-spirituality. It was very pro-free spirit. We can all have our connection to the higher power. We don't need to be put in a box. And I saw religion as rules and regulations and control. But then when more Muslims came into my life, I saw them as a leading example. I saw them living at peace, in gratitude, and maybe materialistically having lesser than myself at that time, but more stable, so much more stable. And I was like, oh, I want what they've got. And I was very much a fly in the wall between my housemate, who was Muslim background, Muslim upbringing, maybe didn't label herself or like practice it so much, but was very much into spirituality. So she was having open conversations and debates with my now fiance at the time, who is Muslim, and they were having these open conversation of what Islam is versus spirituality. And I was just a fly on the wall. I was just absorbing. And then that led me to just randomly see an advert in Waitrose one day of an introduction to Islam in Dubai, a coffee morning, an open circle for non-Muslims. If you're interested, come along. And I found myself just going. And then as I was driving there, the questions kicked in. What am I doing?
We will get back to the episode in just a second. I wanted to show you my new cat that I've gotten. That's a joke. I have a very serious question I want to ask you. Do you struggle to wake up for Fajr on time? Or do you sometimes delay your prayers when you know you shouldn't? If that's you, I want to tell you about the Just Pray app, which has sponsored this podcast episode. And no, it's not just another prayer reminder app. The app has a built-in Fajr alarm, which will not turn off until you've scanned your prayer mat. This way you are forced to pray Fajr and you can't just snooze your alarm. Also, instead of the app just giving you a reminder that it's time to pray, the app actually locks down every other app on your phone, so it forces you to pray and you can't just procrastinate doom scrolling on Instagram. Honestly, if you've been struggling with your prayers, I heavily recommend you try the app out. Click the link in the description of this video, or click the link in the pinned comment, or go to Just Pray on the App Store, and inshallah you start waking up for Fajr on time. Let's get back to the episode.
And then as I was driving there, the questions kicked in. What am I doing? Why didn't I bring a friend? And then I arrived to the villa, which happened to be an official Islamic center. I was like, oh God, what am I doing here? And I walked in and I saw a lovely sign on the door that the angels are present with you. And I thought, okay, this is more close to my old woo-woo. I get this. I'm familiar with this environment. And I walked in, and the sisters were so welcoming. I listened to the Steza, the teacher, speak about what Islam is in a very non-biased sense, and she shared a lot of knowledge that I'd already been learning and absorbing from the others around me. But during this time, during this talk, I was pinching myself like this, like, because I was holding back the tears.